What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another retro Yu-Gi-Oh video. And in this video, this will be my last sort of coverage of a Cyber format deck list in the format. Now, I'm not going to say that we'll never feature Cyber content on the channel again in the future. As with all the formats that I've covered, I do occasionally revisit them from time to time or stream finals matches for their tournaments, etc. But what I will say is that this will be the last in my mainstream coverage of it. So after this, I'm going to be shifting the channel to focusing on things like Reaper and things beyond that as well. So I hope you've enjoyed the Cyber journey on the channel. And if you enjoyed the format, then definitely head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server to play more of it, because you can find games in that format or any other format that I've featured on the channel. Link to that in the description down below. But I always like to close out these formats by covering some of the most degenerate options that the format has available to it. Now, Cyber format, it does have a fair amount of degeneracy in it because it's September 2005. And so Cyberstein's running around bringing out the Cyber Twin Dragon and Cyber End Dragon fusion monsters, going for OTKs with those. Cyber Dragons in the formats of things are a lot more aggressive, etc. You've seen my coverage of the format. You know that sort of stuff is around. But there's also another card released in Cybernetic Revolution that, I'm sure that some people saw and they started tinkering with right away, and that is Magical Explosion. Because Magical Explosion is something that you can potentially make an FTK out of. It's very, very difficult to do so, but you can do it. It's a normal trap that says activate only while you have no cards in your hand. Inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each spell card in your graveyard. Setting that up can be very, very tricky, but, we're trying to do that in this deck the best we can. We've got, actually, now that I think about it, and I'm going to make a live change to this deck because of that that clause where you can't have any cards in your hand. Maybe Heavy is a good card to include here, because you can wind up in situations where you have a bunch of continuous spells or traps that I'll put Heavy in the side just in case. I'm okay with the layout of this deck overall. I think that it's pretty decent. Basically, the idea is it's basically like Library FTK, but we're not doing like the full Library FTK shell, because I do think just Reversal Quiz plus the Amulet is a bit of a better, win con than this one, because, Magical Science is a normal trap, so if you draw it, it's not a tool for your library, and also you can't really play Upstart Goblins because you do want your opponent's life points low to actually go for this win con. So we are playing this sort of shell, and this shell can accumulate a lot of continuous spells in hand, like very quickly. And you might not have the best ways to actually get those out of your hand. So I'm going to put a Heavy here. Maybe I'll bring it in over like a Toon World. I have two Toon Worlds here because we got the Toon Table of Contents, and I always want this to have a target in deck. But maybe just putting it in instead of one of them is good. I don't know. It's very tricky because the no cards in hand thing is a very, very big thing. I mean, I could also just put Cheerful Coffin in. Cheerful Coffin would actually probably be better than Heavy Storm, if I'm being honest here. Yeah, if I put in something, I'm going to put in Cheerful Coffin, actually. If you don't know what Cheerful Coffin is, it is a normal spell that discards cards. So I'm gonna put, oh, it's just monsters. Damn, I thought it was any card. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I guess I'll put the Heavy in the side, see if it comes up. If we need to, we can do that sort of thing. So yeah, but anyway, this is Library FTK. So we're playing like a reasoning version of Library FTK because we want to get a bunch of spells engraved. It can also hit our scientists, or not our scientists, our libraries, or our Dark Magician Chaos is here. Dark Magician Chaos can get a spell back. Also make it so that our opponent can't just call 4 every time, or if they do call 4 every time, we do have a monster in deck that can come out off of that. I was debating going for like Last Wills or Monster Gates, etc. in here as well, because you can put Toon Cannon Soldier in as an end goal for Toon Table of Contents, and that can trigger Last Will, can get a monster on board for Monster Gate, and then you get a guaranteed summon here. Maybe that's the right way to go after all of this, because you really do want your things hitting here. But I didn't really know where to put in the Last Wills, so I think that it's fine doing this. I mean, we'll see in the games how it goes, but I think it should be fine just having Reasoning. You can activate Reasoning without a monster on board. It doesn't have to tribute a library, so that's nice as well. So yeah, I'm just going to keep it like this. We'll see how it goes. I'm not really going to go through the card by card too deeply here. If you're familiar with Library FTK, which I've made some videos on the deck in the past, then you should overall know how this deck goes. But the best way to find out how it goes is to dive into some games. So let's do that now. Okay, we're in DB's solo mode here, and we're just doing some test hands. That's what I do with these FTK decks. I don't want to subject people to the decks themselves. So I do test hands. I do 10 of them, and we see how many of those the deck wins. So we're going to draw here. We draw a reload. I think what we want to do here is we want to activate Reasoning first to potentially get a monster on board, and if we don't, then at least we get a bunch of spells engraved. We can sort of sculpt our next plays. So we're going to go for it. We hit a 4 right away. Now, if we actually hit this thing, then that'd be really good, but oftentimes people do call 4. when I do play with reasoning in these FTK decks, it can be a bit tough to gauge, whether we're actually going to win or not on the call. So what I generally do is I I think, okay, well, I'm going to give the deck as much of an uphill battle as possible. Let's assume they call 4 and leave it at that. If they didn't call 4 and we actually got the library out, I'm just going to put it here so we can keep track of how many draws we'd get. But that will probably be the best indication for, whether we'd win or not after going through this whole combo. So for the sake of just, going through the combo right now that we have, I'm not really going to assume library's on field. Actually here, library is engraved. We have a better play to make here. I think we go Feather the Phoenix, pitch a spell reproduction, put library back on top, go for Archfiend's Oath, get it back to hand, summon it out. Then we only have 2 spells in hand, but it still might be the best thing to do here. So we have 2 spells in hand. We activate a reload. We get a card. If it doesn't draw us into anything, then we're kind of in a bad spot. I think it's still worth doing, though. So I'm just going to do it. And we'll see what happens here. There's definitely an argument for not doing this as well. And just going for a reload and cutting our losses here. We could draw into a pre-mat. We could draw into a variety of things. We can sort of check how that, this stays on field. We can sort of check how that would go, sort of after we do this. But I'm going to bring out that Royal Magical Library, go for the reload here, put this on top of the deck, shuffle that up. I always like to shuffle twice, even if Convulsion's up. And yeah, we draw a Feather, which is dead. So that line would lose us the game. I do think it might be, I don't know, with 4 cards in hand, it could have been a bit iffy. So let's actually see. Let's say we had not done that play. So we had kept all these in hand. And we'd also kept the reload. Let's grab that reload back. I mean, this is already kind of scuffed, but it's just to sort of get an idea of what we'd be doing here. And again, if the library had actually hit the field, I think we would have been in a really good spot. We've got a lot of different plays we can do that sort of, put us into a really good position here. Feather plus Archfiend's Oath is really nice. So, yeah, I think we would have probably been in a fine spot if we'd actually hit the reasoning there. But let's draw 4, see what we get. Charity is pretty nice. We're going to go for Charity here. Draw 3. 1, 2, 3. That's a bit less good. I think we pitch 1 reload. We pitch a Toon World here as well, I think. We could also keep the Toon World in hand to set it back in deck for Toon Table Contents, but I think this is fine. I think I do just reload here. I could activate Oath, try and get lucky, but I am just going to go for reload here. 1, 2, 3. We probably won't be able to do the combo with just 3 cards from deck, but, we can hope. 1, 2, 3. We do have pre-mat to bring back the library, but then we don't have enough to actually get things online. We have Explosion as well, but that's only 6 cards engraved, so not going to be enough there. So I'm going to count this as an L. Again, if we had got... actually, I'm going to scratch that just to, get rid of that first L. I'm going to count this as an L/W, because I do think that if we had gotten the library on field, we would have won this one. So, yeah, let's just reshuffle everything back and draw 6 new ones, see how we do here. And this is a really, really good hand. We got library, we've got the Toon Table Contents. We're going to go for that. We're just going to go through 3 of these. We don't have the deck face up, so there's no sort of weird modulations that we would make otherwise. So we activate 3 of them, get the Toon World to hand there, and now we get a draw off the library because we've gone through 3 copies. Pre-mat is really good here. Oh my goodness. This hand is cracked, honestly. I'm going to set the pre-mat. I'm just going to go for a card D now. I don't really care about level limit or Toon World. Those are sort of nice to fuel the Trunade, but I feel like we've got other better cards to fuel Trunade here. So I'm just going to go for a card D. That's going to be 1 on library. We get to pitch all 4 cards here and then draw 4 new ones. So let's do that now. 2, 3, 4, and those, oh my goodness, those are some great draws. Oh my word. I think I do just go for reasoning, get better spells engraved for the DMOC that we're going to be bringing back. So let's just go for the reasoning there. Put a counter on library, mill. Okay, put this back on top. I'm not going to count that for any knowledge of that. I could shuffle up here, but I don't really think it makes a difference because we're going to be drawing very soon anyways. So we hit a library. Let's assume they call 4 because they see the DMOC engrave. I mean, I think that's a reasonable assumption there. But we are going to go for a pre-mat here. Get a counter on library. I think we're just going to bring back the other library for now, because we can just keep getting counters on this. We can just go for the Democ afterwards. We could get the True Nade to bounce back the pre-mat. So let's go for the other library now. This one does have 3 counters on it, so we can do 1, 2, 3, and then draw 1 card. Convulsion, really, really good there. Can activate Convulsion, flip over the deck, and these are both at 1 each. Okay, there's a library on bottom. I don't really want that because we've already normal summoned, so that's a bit awkward, but now I can do this, put 2 on each, and now I'll go for a True Nade here. So we add these all back to hand. That's 3 on each of these. Flip that over. So we get 2 draws here. So I'm very happy about that. 1, 2. Oh, and we got the Oath on top of it. So what we can actually do here to play around that library on the bottom, we can go for Convulsion, flip over the deck, go for Oath. We can pay 5 and actually mill the library here. So that to me seems pretty good. Now we might actually have to go for the True Nade just to clear that up. Although, how are we getting these out of hand? Like, that's the thing. Like, this is why I think heavy might be necessary, because, like, we've got over 3 of these continuous spells. We need to get them out of hand somehow. Like, we need to fill up our zones as well with explosions. We haven't drawn any explosions yet, and as we draw, we're just going to draw more and more spells that will clog up our back row here. So we might need to get back the card D off the pre-mat. But anyways, these should both have 2, I believe. Yeah, because we did Convulsion plus the Oath. Nope, this should have 2. And now I think we do go. Do we go for pre-mat on True Nade now? I don't know about that. Graceful's also in the deck, so we could pitch 2 from that. We could just go for pre-mat on the library. Trust that that's enough to draw us into things. Because we got 2 more True Nades left in deck. We got Reload as well. So let's just go for pre-mat and target library. Get that into play. So we've got a library here. We're drawing 2 off these libraries. So we draw 1. Then we draw 2. And we got the Feather of the Phoenix. So that's going to be pretty good for us. We can put the True Nade back on top if we want to here. I think what we want to do first, we want to reload though, because our hand didn't really do much here. So I'm going to set the Feather because I think Feather is very good. And we're going to put these all on top. So that's 1 counter on the library. I always shuffle twice. So shuffle, shuffle. And we're going to draw 3. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Feather is actually interesting here because we could go for Reasoning now. I kind of like that. These are all at 1, by the way. I kind of like just going for Reasoning, honestly. I'm going to go for Reasoning. We got the Feather to put back the True Nade as well. So we should be fine here. So Reasoning, like, oh, there's nothing left in deck for us to reason. Okay. So actually, I think we can activate Reasoning still, but it won't do anything. I think it just, will it do anything? I think it won't do anything. I think it just puts everything back because we don't have a monster to hit. I should have looked up this ruling beforehand because this is actually very important for the deck. If it doesn't work that way, then it's just a dead card. But if it does, then it's pretty good. I'm going to activate Reload again instead. Just put these on top. Shuffle, shuffle, draw 2. 1, 2. We drew a True Nade, so that's perfectly fine. We can go for that instead. This will be 2 counters on the libraries there. Do I want to go for a Feather right now? I'm not sure I really do. Because Feather also is a way to get a card out of hand. So, yeah, I'm just going to go for the True Nade here, I believe. Yeah, so I'm going to go for True Nade. That puts a 3rd counter on all these. So, 1, 2, 3. Oops, there we go. And add all these back to hand, not set that to hand. 2 hand, 2 hand. The deck flips over. And now we just draw 3. 1, 2, 3. And those are, I mean, Reading doesn't do anything. I guess Spell Repro also gets cards out of hand. So I think I'm going to go for a Spell Repro now. I'm going to pitch a Level Limit, pitch a Reasoning. Because again, Reasoning, I think it's dead here. Let's add back a Pot to hand. I think adding back Pot makes sense. Let's go for the Pot. 1, 2, Okay, those are other cards we want to get out of the hand there. So let's go for a Spell Repro. Yeah, let's go for Spell Repro yet again. Let's pitch a Redundant Convulsion. Let's pitch a Swords. And let's add back that pot again. Draw 2. We drew into 1 Magical Explosion. That is very good to know about here. We don't have enough to trigger the lethal off of 1 explosion. We need 2 to actually pull this off. So, yeah, I think what we do here... How many Trinas do we have left in deck? Oh, also, I should have been drawing off these because we've done multiple. So we did Spell Activation, then Pot, then another Spell Activation, and then another Pot. So we should be 3 cards deeper as well. And now we have enough explosions to win there. These should also have 1 counter on them each, I think. So now we are in a position where if we do... Let's say we do set. What if we get back Spell Repro on top? So let's do Feather the Phoenix. We pitch a Reasoning, because that's not doing anything. We get back Spell Repro on top of the deck. We go for Oath here as well. We call Spell Repro. So we draw that. Then we go Spell Repro, pitch for another Spell Repro. Yeah, and this should win us the game, yeah. Because basically these just get all the spells out of our hand. And how many spells do we have in grave? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, we have over 20 spells in grave. So these are going to be lethal. So all we have to do here is go for Spell Repro, pitch these to get any spell, and then just set that spell. So we can even just get another Spell Repro. And yeah, set that. We pass turn to them, and then we got the double magical explosion, dealing a grand total of it's over 20, so over 4,000 each. So that will indeed be lethal damage. So that is a W for us, even though we were a bit like scuffy and like remembering to do things like put the counters on the libraries. But I think that we still we won that one for sure. We didn't even get to use the pre-map bring back Democ, and we are still in a good enough spot to win. Okay, this is a pretty good hand. We're going to go for the Reasoning here. Mill. Okay, there we go. Mill. Okay, it's a library again. Again, if we get the library out in the field, we've got Graceful, we've got Oath. Like, I think we're probably winning from this position, but we can just put it here as sort of like a reminder. See how many counters it would get over the course of this combo. But let's go for the Graceful now. 1, 2, 3. Okay, well, with a Feather, we actually can bring it back to the top. And I think it is good to do that. Yeah, because we also got the Repro to bring back the Graceful. So, okay, I guess we're just going to play that way. Let's pitch. We don't need 2 Repro. So let's... Or maybe we do need 2 Repro. Maybe we don't need the reloads. Reload's just kind of a hard -1. So let's pitch the 2 reloads. Go for the Feather. Oh, do we have enough spells in hand to go for the Repro? If we pitch the Limit, activate Oath, we're drawing into... No, we don't have enough for Repro, so I messed that up. I messed up that combo, so realistically, we shouldn't go for Feather. We should go for Graceful on top of the deck. But either way, we're in a bad spot there. If we had the library on field, we would have been in a really good spot because we would have been getting draws on top of this, but as is, we're in a bit of a rough spot. 1, 2, 3. We draw into Explosion as well, which is really nice. I could just add back the Graceful. So I'm going to pitch a Level Limit and a Spell Repro. I'm going to go Tune Table. Just go through the other Tune Tables. So 2 Grave, 2 Grave. And you can see how many draws we'd be getting by this point off the library. It would be a wild amount of draws there. But we get to add this Toon World to hand at the end of all those Toon Table contents. Now we can go Spell Repro, pitch the Toon World, pitch the Spell Repro, get that Graceful to hand. Now with the Graceful here, we can go Graceful 1, 2, 3. Pre-mat does not get us anywhere really. I mean, it can get us to the library, but we're kind of past that point anyways. So yeah, I'm just going to pitch, because at least the card D gets gets 1 more spell engraved. We can activate it with no cards in hand because our opponent does have a hand. But that one explosion is not going to be enough to win here. But with the library, I think we would have been drawing enough. So again, that's sort of like an L/W, because whenever we get reasoning, it sort of complicates things. So it's not a pure W, because if they had called right, then we wouldn't have been able to win this one, I don't think. But if they called wrong, then we would have been able to win. But a lot of people do just call 4 off reasoning, anyways, just blind. So yeah, we probably would have been in a bad spot there either way. But we've got a really good combo here. We've got convulsion plus oath, so we can just flip that over. We've also got library here as well. We're gonna pay 5 for the reasoning off the library there. And now we're going to go for the reasoning. So this will be the third counter on library. Mill. Whoop, not banish top. This should go to grave. Mill. Okay, so again, we've been talking about how people are calling 4. So like you could say that we would have gotten 8 and then gotten a spell from grave here. So I think that just locks up our victory. I don't think it really changes much. I do think that we're going to win this one either way, though. So let's draw now. It's a bit unfortunate because we have to draw into this library, which is like not the best. But if we draw card D later, which we've not gone through here, card D can be pretty good. So there is that. I'm going to activate level limit now, put another counter on that library, go for the Trunade here, add these all to hand. That puts yet another counter on the library. And generally, I like to just, if I've got convulsion, I like to draw from the bottom, because this just sort of draws deeper into it. Of course, there are edge cases where like you wouldn't do that, but I think it's fine just drawing from the bottom there. Oh, and that's a Trunade there. This should be 7,500 life points too. I always forget to reset after going through all this, but we're in a very, very good spot now. We go for another oath. That's 1 counter on library there. Let's just pay the 5 for oath. Draw that Trunade. Oh, and there's the card D that I mentioned. Okay, perfect. Let's go for a level limit here. So that's a second counter on library. Let's go for Toon World here as well. I have to pay 1,000 for that, but realistically, we're not losing all of our life points here, because we've only got 1 Toon World in rotation, so we should be fine. Draw off the library there. Draw into card D. That spell repro is going to be very nice for getting spells out of our hand in the end, as I mentioned before. So we're going to go for that Trunade there. Flip over the deck. Then we're going to go for convulsion here. Another counter on this. Flip over the deck again. Draw into that spell repro. Oh, and Trunade again. Oh my goodness. Okay. So 1 there. Let's pay 5 for the Trunade here. Oh, and another oath too. Wow. Yeah, so we're in a really good spot. We could go for repro now, pitching the Toon World level limit to get back a Trunade. I like that play, so let's do it. We're going to go for repro, pitching these two. Get back one of the Trunades to hands. That puts a third counter on library. We can draw into that oath here. We're going to activate the oath, put another counter on library. We could wait to pay, but I'm just going to pay now to draw this feather. It's a bit awkward because it's not as awkward as you might think, but we can use the feather to pitch the library later, so we're feeling fine about that. I think it's time to Trunade here, though. I think it's time to Trunade. Yeah, let's just go for the Trunade there. 1, 2, 3. Flip over the deck. Let's go for another convulsion. Flip over the deck. Draw. There should be no counters now. Now let's go for an oath. That's 1 counter. I don't... DB sometimes is weird with the counters, but yeah, I'm going to go there. Let's pay 5. Draw into this because I want to do a reason to get more spells engraved, but also get another magical explosion engraved that we can feather back to the top. So let's just do that. So this should be 2 on library. They're going to call 4 for sure. So, yep, and there's the 4. And we've got that explosion engraved now. Now what we can do is we can go feather, pitch the library here, because we don't really have another way to get that at hand. Put the explosion at the top of the deck there. Then we can go another oath. It does put a counter on library, so let's just draw it with that. And we've got another feather. Feather is very good for just getting more cards out of the hand, so I like that. Yeah, so let's just go for the feather, I think. So let's pay 5 to grab that feather. Pot is very funny there as well. Let's go. Let's see. I'm trying to think how we get back into a good. Yeah, let's just go True Nade here. Putting these all to hand. 1, 2, 3. Flipping that deck over. I think we feather for spell reproduction. So let's pitch a Convulsion. Put the spell reproduction on top of the deck. We don't want to actually draw the pot here because that's like we don't want to be filling up our hand at this point. So let's just get that spell reproduction to hand there. Now we can go spell repro, pitch 2, and just get a spell from grave. It doesn't matter. Let's go True Nade. And now we should be in a good spot because we can set these two, set the explosions, and this should be more than enough spells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So each of those will do 4,800 points of damage. So that is definitely a W for us. So let's see. That's one. Where's so many library counter things in here. 2, 3 games that we've done so far. This is 4 games that we've done so far because the first game was kind of scuffed beyond recognition. So that's 4 games that we've done. This is a really good opener. We draw for turn, of course. We've got the library here, so let's just bring that out. It's a bit awkward. How do we do this? Actually, how do we make anything happen here? I don't think we can activate Feather if we don't have cards in grave. And none of these cards go to grave. Can we? Actually, I think this is a straight up loss because I don't think we can do anything here. I don't think, I mean, I'll look up the GOAT format rulings, but I don't think that you can activate Feather without cards in grave. Okay, so I couldn't actually find anything whether, you could actually activate Feather when you had no cards in grave, but realistically, we are still losing from this position. Let's say we activate these two, put 2 counters on library, and then we went, oh, let's just get that 3rd counter, playing Feather, pitching Feather, or I don't know, and then putting that 3rd counter. We'd have to put the Feather back on top, so we're just drawing into that again, and then we have just the worst hand here. So that is indeed an L. Very unfortunate, because very weird spot to be in. I mean, I guess now Convulsion still wouldn't do anything there, because you'd still be putting it back on top there. So that is an L. That's our 5th game, I believe. And oh my god, well, when you open hands like this, it's hard to see the deck ever losing. So bring out the library, activate Convulsion, flip over the deck, go for Oath. That's a 2nd counter on library there. I mean, let's just go for pot. Oath is a little bit more flexible in terms of what you get with it. So yeah, let's just draw that Oath with the library, and we are, oh my goodness, we're in such a good spot. Toon World, and this is where you can't just shortcut the Toon World, because occasionally there will be something that pops up on the top of the deck as you're going through this combo that you do want to get back with Oath. It should be at 1 counter, not 2. So that's part of why we didn't use the Oath there before, because we kind of want to use it at any point to get the best thing that we can get here. Reasoning is pretty good. Do I want to get that? I think I want to get that. Get a monster potentially in grave. We've got an explosion in hand already. We got a Feather to get back another explosion, so we could just be winning from this position. So I think I do just go for a TTC here before going for the final reasoning push. So it can come back to bite us if they've if the top cover of our deck is a monster. And then it's well, they know what to call and know what to do there, but looks like it is not. I'm just going to draw a card here because, again, if you don't want to overload the counters here. So let's just go for reasoning now. Mill. Yes, okay. So it really shouldn't matter whether we get the monster or not at this point. This is just a assured W. Let's say we don't get it. Either way, we're in a really good spot here. We can feather back the explosion. We can also repro back a True Nade as well to get things going more. I'm just going to, so that's 1 counter on this. I think we need to get a little bit more spells in grave, so let's just do this. Pay 5. Yes, this is still fine. So we pay 5, draw this, activate this, puts a 2nd counter on this, puts this to defense here. And now I do think we just repro back a True Nade. Yeah, I'm going to repro back a True Nade. Pitch, get that True Nade to hand. That's the 3rd counter on library there. So we get to draw. drawn to that reasoning there. Oh, and that would have been good. But I mean, either way, we should be fine here. I go for reasoning, get a bunch of spells engrave, and we've got feather to pitch one of these continuous spells out of hand, and we should have enough. So yeah, so this should be fine. So let's go for reasoning here. We do indeed have a Demock and a library left in deck, so we should have enough here. Oh, and there it is. Okay, so do we have enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This will be 16. When we do the Trunade play, that will be 17. We can also just call some oaths wrong. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Flip this over. So if we go, let's say we go Convulsion, flip deck, we activate. Oh, there's another feather on top too. So actually we should be fine here. We go feather, pitch the level limit, add back to top of deck an explosion. And then we go oath. So we go oath, pay 5, and we draw the explosion there. We go for oath, pay 5, call this one wrong. I think that should be 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, so that is exact lethal there. So we were able to get there. So yeah, that's definitely a W for the deck. Wow. It can be a bit tough managing everything there. Oh, I shouldn't have. I always forget to flip the deck back over whenever Convulsion's up because now the top card will be shown, but it really shouldn't matter here. I mean, I'll just reset it. Oh, but this is so good. Okay, I'm just going to flip it and go for it. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't matter here really either way because we're just going to go for TTC right away. So, yeah, this won't matter. Oh, I guess I draw for turn as well. So, level limit doesn't really do anything. But we are going to go for TTC here. And again, because we don't have any way to really manipulate the top of the deck, we're just going to send them like this. Get that Tomb rolled to hand. And that puts 3 counters on the library, so let's draw with the library. And Cardi is pretty good here, not going to lie. I don't hate Cardi. I also don't hate Reload. I don't necessarily want to commit these continuous spells to field because I feel like they're kind of awkward. Spell Repro is really good for later. We could set Spell Repro, but I'm just going to go for the Cardi here. Let's get the entire hand gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Never punished. Never punished. Wow, this hand is really good. Let's go for a pot here. Put another counter on this. 1, 2. Drew another feather as well, which is really nice too. Oh, this is just so good because what we can do here, we can activate. Actually, we don't even have to do that. We can just activate feather first. So let's activate feather. Pitch this. Put the pot on top. To top of deck. Draw the pot with the library. Now we're feeling real good here. Just 1 on that. 1, 2. We drew another oath as well. So what we can do here, we can go oath. 1 counter there. We can go feather. I'm going to pitch the reload again because I feel like we're in a good spot. Put the pot back on top. And that does put a 3rd counter on library, but what we want to do here is we want to do the oath effect first. Let's just put our life points back in the right spot, okay? So this will be 5 for the oath. Draw the Trunade off that. Now we go for the library here. Draw an additional card. We drew Trunade. That's really good. We're going to go for pot here. Draw 2. We drew the library, which isn't the best, but it is what it is. So going to put that 1 counter on the library there. Now we go 2 counters, 3 counters, and now we draw. Draw a Convulsion. That is exactly what we want. We're going to go for Convulsion here, put a counter on library. We've used up 1 oath, but we haven't used up 2 others. So let's pay 5 to get that Trunade to hand. Now let's pay 5. I think we do just want to get the Tomb roll to hand because we still got repros in deck, which will be pitching things. So let's just add that Tomb roll to hand there. Reasoning is pretty good, but do I go for it now? How am I getting everything out of hand? I don't necessarily have a good way to get everything out of hand, so I'm not sure I want to go for reasoning yet. We also do have a ton of spells in grave already, so I feel like we should be fine here. We've also gone through feathers, which we don't want to necessarily lose our 2 other explosions and not really have a feather to get it back. So I'm just going to go for Trunade here. I'll put another counter on the library, not top of deck. We want this in hand. So to hand, to hand, to hand, to hand. I mean, I'm not going to flip the deck over because I'm just going to immediately activate an oath, or not an oath, a convulsion. So I'll put the third counter on the library there. Now we activate oath, pay 5. It could come up. So we're going to pay 5, draw into the repro here. We are going to bring out another oath, pay 5. I think we want to mill this. Yeah, let's just mill it. Graceful's really good. Graceful is so good here. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's just go for another oath. Pay 5. Draw into that Graceful. Demock is perfectly fine. We just pitch that off the Graceful, so that's indeed what we're going to do. We're going to go for the Charity here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, this hand's just so good. Oh my god. Yeah, pitch the Library and the Demock there. I think we have enough engrave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And we'll be spell reproing some amount of our hand away anyways. So yeah, this should be fine. So we're going to spell repro, pitch a Reasoning and a Swords for another spell repro. I'm just going to add the spell repro on field back to hand because it's much easier that way. We don't need to be drawing anything more for library, so I'm just not going to do that anymore. We're going to go for a Trunade here. So this will add everything back to hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we just keep doing the spell repro loop. So we keep pitching 2, adding back repro. You know, pitching 2, adding back repro. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we'll just set our last spell repro. Set explosion, and that should be the end of the game because there are 28 cards in grave. 3 of them are monsters, so 28 spells in grave. So that means 5,000 damage from each of the explosions. So that would actually kill even through Upstart, but I do feel like Upstart's just too... I mean, there are situations where Upstart definitely loses you the game, so I don't really want to put Upstart in the deck. But, I mean, I don't know, you could go for it. Like, realistically, it's drawing you deeper, it's getting you a potential draw. But the way I figure it is, like, you know, you're giving your opponent 1,000, but that card will count for at most 600 in grave. So it can be putting you into a rougher spot, but occasionally you do need it, so... I don't know, a bit weird. But anyways, we're going to go for a library. We're actually going to set the Trunade here. I'm going to go for the reload. I would like to set the explosion, but I feel like we don't have enough gas in hand to really merit including the explosion here because, you know, we need to be going through our deck. So I need to get the library online, so I'm just going to go for this now. And I do feel like Trunade gets us deeper into our sort of deck than explosion does. So 1, 2, 3. We drew into the Demock again. Ugh. I'm just going to go for level limit here. Puts a counter on library. It's also a card to return off Trunade. And I'm going to go for this reload. Put the Demock on top of the deck. This will be the third counter on library as well. We drew a pre-mat. That's pretty good. I mean, we don't have any monster in grave right now, but we can potentially get one there. We drew Oath. That's not bad. We're going to activate the Oath, put another counter on the library. Let's just call Convulsion. Like, that's our most important thing to get. So let's just call Convulsion, pay 5 off the Oath, and let's see if we hit it. We do! Oh, we're just that good. We're just that good. Oh, so good. Oh my goodness. Okay, this game is much better now. I typically, like, just always call Convulsion off Oath if I'm in a situation like this, unless there's something else specifically that I want to win, because, like, worst case scenario, I'm going 1 card deeper in the deck, getting a spell engraved most likely. But best case scenario, you get to pop off like this. So I'm going to go for the Convulsion, flip the deck over. That's a second counter on the library. Also, if you hit a monster, then pre-mat's live, so that's something. But yeah, and we get repro there as well to get back the Trunade later. Oh, this is so good. Okay, we're going to go for the Trunade there. I'll flip over the deck, put a third counter on this. 2 hand, 2 hand, 2 hand. Oh, I don't know, this is so good. We're drawing off that. We get a feather. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is so good, dude. Okay. Convulsion there. This will be the 1 counter on it. I don't know why DB occasionally, like, either puts back counters or, like, doesn't register counters being taken off or something, but it's very weird. But anyways, we're going to put Archfiend Oath out now, get a second counter on the library. We could just go for the feather now, pitching the level limit, getting the Trunade on top, and doing that stuff. We also haven't paid for Oath yet, so we could also just go 500 for Oath. So I'm just going to do that now. Do that. Explosion, that's not bad for later. Since that explosion is there... I think I am just going to feather the Phoenix. I'm going to pitch the... Ugh, this is just so tough. I'm going to pitch the level limit. No, I'm going to pitch Premat. I was thinking like with Oath, we can easily get a monster engrave, but I think Premat's better to pitch here to add back the True Need to top of deck. That'll be the third counter on library. Now we draw into this with the library there. Now we activate a level limit to put another counter on this. We're going to go for True Nade here, get everything back to hand. That puts a second counter on the library. And then we flip the deck over. We activate Convulsion to make sure that we're drawing deeper into this side of the deck. Draw off the library there. The explosion. Oh, we get immediately punished. Wow. Wow. We got immediately punished for that. Okay, well, we're going to go for the Oath here. Pay 5 and mill the library. That's rough. I mean, that's 1 on the library here, but we don't have enough to actually get back into this because level limit will not do it. So maybe I should have pitched the Premat instead of the level limit, and then we would have been in a good spot here. But as is, that's going to be an L for this deck. I mean, this was a really, really good run, but it just wasn't able to do it. I think I misplayed that. I think I should have just gone for, but it's like there are like 3 other monsters in our deck at that point, and like level limit just keeps getting us spells. Maybe I should have gone for repro instead of feather. Maybe I should have reloaded as well once I saw the explosion on top, because we can't really draw explosion early. I don't know. There's a lot of different things I could have done there, but yeah. Anyways, this hand is not terrible. It's not really the best, but we do have a library, and that's always a good start. So we're going to summon that library, put these back on top of the deck. That is 4 cards that were drawn off this reload here. Shuffle, shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ugh. Don't really like that. I'm going to go for level limit here. Put 1 there. Level limit here. Put 2 there. We do get a draw off this. Oh, TTC. Love to see it. Okay, again, this is sort of, we don't need to really be going through these one by one here. So I'm just going to mill them from deck to grave and add the last Toon World to hand. And this will get us a total of 3 counters on the library. So let's draw a card off that. We draw swords. Not the best. I think what I actually do here is I might just go repro, pitch these 2, and just grab a sword. Or not grab a sword, grab a reload to hand. Puts a counter on the library. I'm going to activate the reload, put this back on top of the deck. That's another counter to library, and we draw. Well, maybe that wasn't the right play. Maybe I just should have activated the Toon Worlds and then reloaded. Or no, I didn't have reload in hand. Maybe I should have activated Toon Worlds, though. I don't know. Then we wouldn't be able to activate repro, so I don't know. That is an L there. So we've got 1 game, 2 games. How many games have we got total? That's 2, 3, 4, 5. Getting close to the end, don't worry. 6, 7, and 8. So we got 8 games so far. We just got 2 more left to go before we do the big tallying here. Let's shuffle everything back in. And I think these show that even if you draw a library, you're not guaranteed to win. So you do have to have good play outside of that, but this hand is kind of rough. Yeah. I don't know exactly. I think we just have to like blind Oath here. As weird as that sounds. Because like I'm thinking about like what you can do with Feather. And if we do go for Feather, like we activate Oath, right? And we do the Feather. Maybe we've thinned out our deck with Toon Table Contents, so we got a Toon World in hand. But like, what are we putting back from our graveyard to top of deck? Like nothing. So I think what I have to do here is I got to go Oath. I think I have to call Library. That's what I have to do. No, it's just a reload. I guess we can repro back that. So let's go for TTC. Go through all of our other TTCs. We could also leave them in deck in case we draw into a library. But I think it's fine just doing this. Because we're in a really awkward spot. We're going to be pitching for repro anyways. So, like, yeah, we're going to pitch a Feather. Not banish. We're just going to pitch it. We're going to pitch that Feather. We're going to pitch a Toon World as well. Get back the reload. Activate the reload. So we put these back to the top of the deck. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And those... Convulsion just came a little bit too late. Let's see what we would have been working with. On an Oath! No! Okay, well... We had to do what we had to do there. So that's going to be a major L for the deck. So will our 10th one end on victory? Will it end on defeat? We have to find out. And this is this is not a terrible hand here. We got reasoning. Let's mill it. Let's get milling. Let's get milling. Okay, whoops, this should go on top. Yeah, so if they called 4, then this would just be engraved. We're sort of out of luck there. If they didn't call 4, then we'd have library on field, and we'd have a fair amount of things to do with that library. What we'd probably do here is we'd go feather pitch reload, and then activate 2 of our... No, we'd activate convulsion first, then feather pitch reload, then activate like level limit, get back oath probably, do things with that. We also have pot engraved, so we could have done something there. So there were some things we could have done with that, but yeah, we don't really have the option to do that now if we miss the reasoning. So let's just go for reload here. Put these 4 back on top of the deck. Shuffle, shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this isn't terrible. I don't hate this because we got repro here. So we can go 2 table contents, just mill out our deck a little bit, or thin out our deck a little bit. That's what I should be saying. Get these here. Could go for another reasoning. I don't hate that. I kind of want to go for the pot first, though. It's a bit tricky. I think I just go reasoning here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's say they called 4 again, because I do think that makes sense. Now we go for repro here. Pitch these 2. We can go for either pot or graceful. I like pot a little bit better because it gives us 2 cards to work with instead of just 1. So I'm going to do that. Activate the pot, draw 2, and that will not do it. We got swords to stall a little bit, so let's say we stalled for a turn. Nope. Nope. Well, Premac gets back to library. We don't have the gas for that. So, yeah, this is going to be a major L. If we had brought up the library, we would have been in a good spot here, I think. Like, if they hadn't called 4 off reasoning. But if they had, which is a very likely call in this format, because if you're facing a Reasoning 8 turbo deck, Sacred Crane played at 3 copies a lot of the time. So, normally calling 4 shuts them off that, and that's pretty good. So, yeah, realistically, we were not winning this one. So, that is an L there. Ending on a bit of an L, but probably a good thing that we ended with the L at the end of the FTK thing. So now let's tally up our total results. So that's 3 L's there, 4th L there. Let's see here. W, okay, that's 1 W. L, so 5 L's, 1 W. 2 W's, 5 L's. And we got some L. I'll save the LWs for later. We got 3 W's, 5 L's. And another LW. So we've got 3 W's, 5 L's, and 2 LWs. I guess you could call this last one an L/W as well. I think the L/W is generally lean more towards being a loss than a win, because again, people are calling 4 in this format. So I would say like probably 3 W's, 7 L's, but it could potentially be 6 W's, 4 L's. But the fact that you have that sort of variance between them means that this deck is probably not as viable as something like just typical library FTK. That's probably what you want to play instead if you want to play an FTK deck in this format. I do think this deck has some fun quirks to it. You know, being able to reasoning out most of your deck is kind of cool. Also, like, doing the spell repro loops just to get your hand downside is just very, very funny, I find. But I do think the deck is just worse library FTK. I don't think it's really got much going for it. Eventually, it will get other tools that can help it out further. Potentially make it more of a threat. But here, not really that good. And we haven't even talked about the fact that if you're going second, like, you are even more in a bad spot, because like your opponent could have plenty of interruption for what you're doing. You bring out a library, they go right, Geki break, pop the library. What do? You just concede, right? So realistically, this deck doesn't always have the best win rate going first, and also if it goes second, it just loses most of the time. So that's not really the best deck you want to have. You could potentially smokescreen side this into like a more typical Reason Gate deck, which is something you can do if you want to. If you want to try and make this viable. So that way you're basically gambling like, well, okay, if I lose the first game, you know, I'm going first the second game, and maybe I FTK there. But, you know, then if I win that, I can go into Reason Gate, and Reason Gate's kind of neat. So, I don't know. I think that's kind of cope. I don't really think this deck is that good. But it is very cool. Very cool to have another FTK enabler in the format. So if you want to play it, you can. But that's going to do it for this video and my coverage of cyber format decks in general. Again, I might return here in the future. If you want to be notified for when I do potentially return here in the future, definitely subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot. We're just about 8 subscribers away from reaching our goal of 1,400 for the month. I'd really like to reach that goal, and with your help, we can make it. So please subscribe if you're interested in supporting the channel, and also if you want to be notified when my later videos come out. Also, if you want to support me directly, I have a Patreon link in the description down below. And if you join the Patreon, you get a shout out in these videos. So big shout outs to Tyler Compton, Rinswin, Dump Truck, GMYFS, Portrait Moon, and Brendan Dogger. It really means a lot that you all support me this way, and it motivates me to make more videos like this. I hope you enjoyed this video as always, and until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.